I used to have a joke that I was immune to alcohol in college.
Yeah.
Because I would drink a certain amount of beers.
Dude.
In 5 minutes. Done.
I bet it's so bad.
Piss it out.
Wow.
Do you believe in like opening the gates or whatever people say?
Cracking
Like
the seal.
Yeah, if you piss one time.
Oh, it's 100% true, but it's so hard because I'm sitting there and I don't want to ever feel like I need to go. It's a horrible feeling.
Yeah, it's awful.
So you just sit around all the time feeling like you got to pee pretty much?
Yeah. The worst is when I'm going to bed. I'm like, it's like I will sit there and I'm like, all right, I can get past this, need to go to sleep. And then I'm like, all right, now I got to go.
Do you piss the bed a lot?
No, I'm never.
Never peed the bed. What about when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, I mean, probably.
Yeah. So you're like 17, no big deal.
Everyone's done it, you know what I mean? But
That's good.
I was that every night. It sucks. I mean, I'm getting up like 3 or 4 times before I got to go to bed.
Damn.
And just like still going because I'll chug water. Been on a huge water kick, just drinking water.
Oh, I love water.
It's great, but like,
We're recording. Y'all ready for the intro?
Yeah, we're ready. Check this thing out.
Grab the KY, get yourself ready. You got some sliding to do. Hanging out with TL and the boys, maybe some critters too. So get your phone and get on the gram. You know where to find the man. Slide into the DMs. Girls on your mind. Slide into the DMs. Oh, baby, take your time. Slide, slip it on in. Here we go again. DM Monday.
Welcome back to the DM Monday podcast. We're in a new space. We're in our house. We got Mac Hereford, our guest today. Mitch Bonner's not here.
What up?
Roll Tide, dude.
roll tide.
Yeah.
Just came off a big win last weekend.
Yeah. Did you go to the game or what?
I didn't go to the game, but I watched it on TV. And last year it was rough watching. I watched it here. I didn't go to the game either. Last year it was in Baton Rouge. And like, I remember my cousin was betting against like the spread or whatever it was the whole game. And then we lost. And then this year it felt nice. That quarterback, LSU's quarterback was balling out.
Dude, he is the best quarterback in the SEC, probably in the whole league.
Yeah, he's filthy.
Like even before, did he break his jaw? That's what I heard.
In the Bama game?
Yeah, you know, the
I
penalty.
know he went down, yeah. And everyone was talking about that. What do you think about that play? Did y'all see that play?
I have an opinion, yeah.
Yeah, Mitch has an opinion.
What's your opinion?
I think it's clean, dude. I think if somebody has that much momentum going forward and their job is to tackle the quarterback, he was already in the air in the tackle when he released the football. So you can't stop your momentum. You're already in the air. I understand what the rule is for, and I think it's a good rule, but I don't think it was a dirty hit. I think he was doing his job, and that guy released the football.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was any maliciousness towards it. I always hate talking about if it's, clean or not clean. Like, because one time I don't know if y'all remember, Colorado was playing Colorado State earlier this year.
Yeah.
And there was a Colorado State guy that the quarterback Shadur threw the ball. It was clearly not catchable. And then the Colorado State guy like nailed Travis Hunter in the stomach. And that one, I was like, look, he wasn't catching the ball. The ball had already hit the ground. I was like, you should be penalized for that. I just said that on Twitter, and I got absolutely roasted.
Really?
Yes, like, oh my God, stop being a bitch. I'm like, look, I said something like, I don't want all this stuff going with it, so I try to keep out of it now. But
yeah, I got roasted.
But I mean, before that hit, I mean, he was taking some gnarly hits, even on some of those long scrambles he had and stuff like that. I mean, I was just like, man, is this guy ever going to quit? You know?
He was playing like he was a creative player
out of his mind, dude.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But Mitch was rather heated about that, and Mitch is an Auburn fan, so I mean, he's like, "What are you gonna do? Just like stop, you know?"
I'm just saying, if my job is to go out there and tackle the quarterback, I mean, you can't stop a 250-pound man running full speed at somebody.
Yeah,
and what if he had a pump faked and then he stopped? Like, what is his coach gonna do? Like, why the fuck did you stop, dude?
It's a hard thing. Like, I get it. Cause
especially in that kind of game, you know how many people are watching LSU versus Alabama?
Yeah.
Like, that could be your opportunity. That sack could be what gets you drafted, and you just stopped running at him. Like, he could have pump faked and rolled out, and then you never know what could have happened all because you stopped. I don't know. I'm going with the tackle. I'm tackling every time.
Do you go to a lot of games or?
In the past, I have. So there's botching the name of the radio station, but I think it's like Tide 101.9 or 5 or something. But I would go on the radio down there and would go to 3 or 4 games a year since I graduated. And then this year, surprisingly, I haven't been to one.
Oh, wow.
it's just been, I've been traveling a lot, so it's like hard to get back. And I'm kind of, I love the football stuff. I love like the football community and Alabama, the program as a whole, but it's just a lot of driving. And then every time I leave Tuscaloosa, I'm like, oh my God, like what all have I done?
You know? Trust me, I know. For those of you who don't know, Mac played at the University of Alabama. What years?
2016, 2017, 18, and 19.
19. All 4 years. That's wild.
Good crew.
Hey, crew.
Hey there.
And what was your position at Alabama?
So I played wide receiver.
Cool.
Yep. Came in. I was originally going to try to do like tight end. I think like an H-back position. They had a guy named Michael Nicewander who was a walk-on who ended up getting a scholarship his junior year, balling out, just an absolute unit. Yeah. And they were like,
he's a big, thick guy.
Yeah, he's thick. And when I came in, they were trying to tell me that like that's what we kind of want to mold you into. So I came in, I think I was like 205 freshman summer. And by the end of the summer, I was like 225. So I was like beefed up.
Oh, wow.
And then it came around to like they needed extra guys at wide receiver, especially for scout team, which I was doing predominantly most of the time. And so I like started cutting, got down to like 211. Yeah. And then that's what I just
we were doing our research on you. Like you took a lot of pride in the scout team.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. It was my game. I mean, most guys, you know, you get the game, but for me, like I was telling someone the other night, like every day I would go in and practice. I had a pre-practice routine like it was a game. I would go, you know, I'd drink a coffee, would get in the hot tub, maybe a little bit of cold tub. I would go in the trainer's room. I'd get them to like do the little Theragun on me. And then after that, I'd get stretched out. I had my headphones in, blasting some rap music. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to go into this practice like it's a dang game. Yeah. And then I would go out there and it was just a ton of fun. Like you get to compete at the highest level against all these DBs that I played against in practice are now in the league. Yeah. So it's like, you know, I'm getting to play against them every single day. It's a huge privilege. It's awesome.
Yeah. So Levi Wallace, was he a walk-on too?
He was a walk-on. Unbelievable story. So Levi came to Alabama and then he decided to walk on. So my process was a little bit different. I was talking to teams, getting recruited a little bit here and there. And Alabama offered me what's called a preferred walk-on. So you come in, you're on the roster, you're on the team. There's no tryout. But they also host walk-on tryouts. Cool. Levi did a walk-on tryout, gets on the team, and then is playing. He's a walk-on, doing scout team, doing his job, and is getting an opportunity in a spring game. In the spring game, he gets an opportunity in that he knows he's going to get an opportunity in. His dad passes away the night before.
Oh, wow.
So it's crazy, crazy God thing. And then Levi ends up playing that spring game, balling out. And then it was crazy because college football is a lot of business, a lot of politics. And Levi still hadn't been on scholarship. He was fighting for that spot. Trayvon Diggs comes in, and it's his second year. I think so. His first year, Trayvon was a wide receiver. His second year, they had him at DB ahead of Levi Wallace, and they give Levi a scholarship that season. And we're playing Florida State. Trayvon Diggs goes down. Levi Wallace comes in. This guy who was a former walk-on. I think at this time he's a junior or senior when he got that scholarship, and he gets a pick, an interception, balls out the rest of the game. Yeah. And still, though, when Trayvon Diggs was back, Levi moved back to second string. Yeah. And it's crazy. He had this whole journey, ends up starting at the end of the season, doing his job on special teams as well, doesn't get drafted, gets picked up by the Buffalo Bills, and then has an unbelievable season. Yeah. Was like the highest graded rookie, being undrafted, being a former walk-on, having lost his dad. So he's got a crazy story. That guy's the man.
What is that like? Like, you're all competing for like jobs, on the field.
Yeah.
But like anybody that watches college football knows that like Saban's practices are like the craziest thing, right?
Oh, it goes
so
on.
Like, I know that like y'all are kind of like all there for each other, in a sense, right?
Yeah.
It's like, we got to do this shit, but like when y'all are competing for like a starting job, like, are you like, yeah, fuck that guy? Or is it kind of like, oh man, congrats?
It's for the most part, it's all just everyone trying to do their job and do it to the best of their ability and work their way up to the spot. It's a pretty cool thing. You would think like in the work world, you have people, and especially, I bet it's the same in the artist world, like that you have people, you want to beat them out. Yeah. But at the same time, you're like friends with them. Yeah. So there's some guys, very few, who would come in and kind of feel like salty towards a guy ahead of them. Yeah. And be like, dang, like that guy's getting a lot of time with the coach, whatever it may be. But really at the end of the day, like we all competed. We all wanted to make each other the best we could be. And whether that's we're getting the starting spot or not, like guys wanted to play, they're going to work with each other, make each other better.
I feel like I felt like maybe like a little bit of like competition before I moved to Nashville, but once I got in the game and like up here and like realized how hard this is, if somebody has a win, I'm like, good for you, man. You know what I mean? I'm just going to keep working.
Oh, 100%.
So I guess it's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah.
I think like before guys got there, you're coming in, you're a 5-star. I remember one player in particular that was like, I'm going to be a Heisman. I'm going to start at Alabama my freshman year.
Yeah.
And he's coming in there like basically saying, screw you to the guys there.
Yeah.
And then when he gets there, it's like a reality check and you get humbled pretty quickly at that program.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of the time guys were just very complimentary of each other, wanted each other to succeed. I mean, even when we had the quarterbacks, like I played with Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones, Tua. And there were times where like Tua came in, Jalen got benched, but
Yeah.
still friends. You know what I mean? That's like a weird, it's a
It'd
weird
be a
thing.
tough dynamic.
I mean, dude, that year that Tua came in and won at halftime, and then was it the next year? Jalen stayed on the team and then came back and won us the SEC championship. I say us like I went there, but I'm a fan. You know what I mean? No Alabama fan went there. You know what I mean? Most of them. But that was cool, man.
It was like a movie. So you had obviously we're in that national championship game against Georgia. So it was a 2017 season, 2018 national championship. And you're sitting there like we're playing Georgia in the Dome in Atlanta. And it's like, dang, like we can't figure this out. Like we're missing some throws here. Guys are getting frustrated. You know, Georgia had the momentum. And then Coach Saban, look, I don't know a single other coach in college football that would take a guy who is not really started or played a bunch at the college level and in the national championship game decides Tua's going to start, comes out at halftime, and we're all kind of like, it was surreal. It was like, holy shit, like this is real. And then he comes on, throws the bomb to Devontae Smith to win the game. After we had that field goal that like, look, I was lined up ready to rush the field when we had that field goal opportunity at first to win it.
Yeah, there was like an interception. What I heard there was like a fight on the sideline, like all kinds of crazy
so
stuff.
Mekhi Brown. There was one of our guys got into it with one of our coaches, Mekhi Brown, great guy. It was just a lot of stuff going on. And then we win. And then the next season, you have Jalen who holds a team meeting like prior to that season, lets everybody know like, look, I'm staying here. Don't care what the media says. Going to work with us, like working his tail off in practice, being a good supporter of Tua, and then gets the opportunity in the SEC championship game. Yeah. And the crazy thing was my mom, we have a banquet every year that's right after the SEC championship game. That's like a, end of the year banquet. People get awards and whatnot. And we're at that. And Jalen Hurts' mom is in a wheelchair after we won that SEC championship. And my mom was like, why are you in a wheelchair? And she's like, Jalen, when he got in, I was cheering so hard that like my legs hurt so bad that I have to sit in a wheelchair now.
That's crazy.
But that whole thing shows like that whole thing we were talking about earlier in the sense of guys wanted each other to win. Because when Tua won that game, Jalen was the first person.
He was like smiling on the sidelines.
Yeah. And ESPN was trying to rub it in. They came up to Jalen after he got benched and like, how does it feel to get, like, what do you do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, the media can be awful, dude.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Terrible. Oh, yeah. Where are you from?
So I'm from Birmingham, Alabama.
Where'd you go to high school?
Went to high school originally at Mountain Brook High School.
Cool. I went to Vestavia.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
You're a Stav guy.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
But see, that's the thing is we didn't call it the Stav back then. That's like a new age thing. I'm 35, so yeah.
Did y'all have a rivalry with Mountain Brook when you were there?
Not really. We were more Hoover. I was in the two-a-days. Before Hoover became Hoover, two-a-days. We were, like when I was like 14 or something, we were at my 13th birthday. We won the championship.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, against Viger at Legion Field.
Legion Field. What a spot, man.
That was before they played out of the Hoover Met.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
So were you an Alabama fan growing up?
But, yeah, I don't like Vestavia either, so you're good.
Yeah. So I was huge. And so on the high school thing, though, went to Mountain Brook, ended up going to a boarding school in Virginia. Not for being bad, not being a bad kid. Great boarding school, offered a lot of opportunities.
Was it like an all-guy boarding school?
All-guy boarding school.
Dang.
Hey, the saying we had was like, we don't need our girls at our school because we're doing just fine with yours. That's what we said. But so went to that boarding school. But back to when I was growing up, huge Bama fan. Like I was a fourth generation. And my great grandfather went there, grandmother, grandfather, mom, aunts, uncles, whatever it may be. And so I always grew up a huge Bama fan, thought it was everything. When we went to those games, like I would just, it was awesome. Yeah. And I would wear, like I have pictures of me wearing Alabama stuff as a little like infant child. Like I remember, it's like I always thought I could fight tornadoes. Whenever we had like a tornado in Alabama, I would go out in the football helmet and a jersey on and like be like running around in the yard. Like the tornado's not even close, but like, so I was a big Bama fan growing up. I dreamed of playing for the Tide and, eventually got that opportunity. It was pretty awesome. So
that is cool. Did you ever watch Rudy when you were little?
Oh, Rudy's one of my favorites.
Dude, I love Rudy is one of my, that and Forrest Gump, but I played football from about 6 years old. So I got to middle school.
What position did you play?
I played offensive line. I was a fat kid. My brother played center, and I played right guard.
Hey, I played a little bit of offensive line when I was in rec league.
When I got to middle school, they wanted me to play linebacker, and I was like, I don't know what to do with all this space. Like, what is going on? But yeah, I don't know. I think I got into drugs and alcohol at a young age. I'm sober now, but I think once I kind of found that, I was just kind of like trying to do that. Partying and
what
stuff.
age did that happen?
Like 13. Yeah. 13? Yeah, I started drinking and doing drugs, smoking pot and stuff.
Yeah, it's fucking wild.
But I went to rehab when I was 19, and I've been sober ever since. Yeah.
What started that whole at 13? Was it just
my
high school
parents
buddies?
got a divorce, and then after that, I just kind of started running with the wrong crowd and just.
How did you get alcohol at 13? Did you start running with 21-year-olds?
Well, we always had like an older brother or sister that could go down to the pick-a-pack and over there in Hoover and get us stuff. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was just like I started using drugs and drinking, and it was just like I was like, that was it. That was the party. And I mean, a lot of people gradually like kind of build their addiction. Mine was just like boom. I was just like
13 years old.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I had my first sip of alcohol when I was like 17 or 18.
Yeah.
Just a sip.
First time I ever got drunk, I drank 9 beers,
Holy
threw up
cow.
everywhere.
You were real drunk. You weren't like that little kid.
I was like walking down the street in my underwear to the Pizza Hut. The Pizza Hut on 31 for my stepdad to come pick me up because I didn't know how to tell him where I was.
Oh my gosh.
But anyways, when I got to middle school, like I was like, just move me to offensive line. And then like I tried for like, I just went out there and busted ass for like 3 weeks and made first string, and then I quit. I just wanted to know that I could do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's hysterical.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like if I would have had parents that would have been like, no, your ass is playing. This is what you've been doing your whole life.
Yeah.
Things might have been different, but I might not have ever found country music or, so it all worked out.
It is crazy how it all works out, how different things happen in situations. Like you go from that and then.
Yeah, I mean, I could have terrible knees now, I'll barely be able to walk around.
Yeah, my back's hurting still. I got like back problems. My whole body feels like I'm like 40 at some time. Now I'm still running routes occasionally.
Yeah.
But
I saw on your Instagram. So I heard you mention earlier, do you do cold plunges? Because that's something I've gotten into recently.
Really? You're a cold plunger?
I'm a plunger.
Dude, I saw John, John Christ, the comedian?
Yeah.
He posted something hysterical that said, he was like, it was a funny, like, I guess meme style, but I don't even know what you call this type of videos. I'm so ignorant to different things. But John Christ had a video that was like, I've been trying this new thing, hot showers. It came out there. I thought it was pretty good.
I have one in the back. It's just like the one you put ice in.
You have a cold plunge?
Yeah, that's like just one you put ice in.
You do it every morning?
I do it 3 times a week.
I like it.
I like to do like 6 minutes.
Okay. So I've never gotten, I mean, I did it in college. There was a lot of like science back to, your body after you get out of practice. We would be extreme, like you're sweating still, your metabolism, everything's going after practice because you're still trying to cool yourself down. So the reason they told us to in college, or one of the reasons was, look, jump in this thing. It'll completely shut that, part of your body off. And then you just get it reset. So you have more time to recover. But after college, I was doing it all the time just because our trainers were telling us to do it. And then after, I hadn't really got into it. I seen, it really popped off. Like everybody was doing it. But I will say it's I need to get one. I was talking to one company about giving me one that I can have at my house, but I haven't done them as much as I should. I love them though.
Yeah, my buddy has one at his house. It's like got the actual like chiller and everything.
Yeah.
And it's like 41 degrees. It's pretty. That's what got me into it. And then I just got tired of hitting him up, so I just bought one. And it's getting cold, and I'll just put ice in it and go. But there's a place that you can go here in Nashville. You can do like infrared sauna than the
that?
The plunge. I can't remember the name of it. It's really cool though. But I do it for the mental benefits. Like,
dude, it helps.
Yeah, I mean, it helps me so much. Like, I haven't had any kind of like. Sometimes I feel like I just get bogged down, just from the constantly just working all the time and self-doubt and all that stuff. But like when I get in there, it's like it just like sets me right for the week.
It's shot like that's the I wish I like look I'm gonna get one after this because
I thought about grabbing some ice and you told me you were training this morning and I was like, we should just do a cold plunge before we do this.
Dude, we ought to do it. We ought to do it.
Pretty nuts, man. It feels good.
You get into them too?
Yeah. I mean, I did it because Trey told me to, but it afterwards, like the first time I did it, my whole body just felt like good. I don't know. It was weird. My legs felt really weird. And I remember doing them in high school as like a recovery, but it was just different as an adult now. I don't know. It was cool. I liked it.
There's something about it. It's like anytime anything crazy happens in life, you're like, oh, I can't do this, And then once you settle in and like, you're like, oh, I can do this. And that's like the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, I went and did cryotherapy the other day because
that's intense.
I want to try that.
Intense. Similar concept. I like it a little bit. Look, I'm going to sound like a bitch, but I like it a little bit better because of the fact that when you do a cold plunge, you have to put your body in there. You have to submerge yourself. It's like hard. Like even getting into cold water for me, I'm like one of those kids who takes like 20 minutes. Like I'm like, oh, it's cold. Yeah. It's getting up to my armpits. That's like one of the worst.
That's when it hits
you got to put your shoulders under. And it's like, but you walk in cryotherapy, you open up the door, you walk in, and it's just you're in there, and then it starts, and it's like you realize you're already in, and you can't get out. Yeah, you're sitting there like I did it.
It's
recently.
like the chamber.
Yeah, it's a chamber, and you're like,
is it like all the way up to your neck?
Oh no, it's a whole.
It's your whole body.
Depends how it is, but the one I was in was a box, like a box thing, and you're in there, and it's like you're in a refrigerator.
How long are you in there for?
3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah,
and you can feel the difference when you walk out.
Yeah. I mean,
it hurts, dude.
It's cold. Like my hair is getting like white and like my like eyebrows are getting white from like the coldness.
My buddy I went to high school with, he has a gym right there in Vestavia and he has one.
Oh, that's so clutch.
Yeah, I want to try that.
I tried it once, like probably 6 years ago when it was just like probably kind of unheard of. And I was like, man, I don't like this. I need to get out of here.
But all that to say, yes, I do. I don't do it that much. I should do it more. I want to get one. I think cold plunging is great. I know there's like all this science, all these benefits. The one that I've seen, the best benefit now is what you were talking about, mental. You don't really get a chance. Like we're all, the world gets more and more. There's more social media. Like your brain doesn't have time to shut off. Yeah. And I think it's when you get in that cold mode, like your whole body is in this like shock. Yeah. And so your brain finally gets a chance instead of focusing on 10 billion other things, it like shuts off. Yeah. And then you feel like pretty nice after.
I noticed the other day that, I've gotten so used to watching football games and the 10-minute highlight clips because I'm always playing a show when the game's on. And now when I like sit down and watch football, my brain slows down so much, I'll just fall asleep, sit on the couch. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Do you ever get chewed out by Saban?
Oh yeah. I got chewed out numerous times. I mean, there was times where it'd be for small stuff. I mean, the details matter in any program, but that was one of the best things about Alabama is like, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to get ripped for the details. And it was the year they were trying to tell us to keep our knee pads over our knees. Yeah. And it's like, we all have knee pads and no college football players wearing knee pads over their knees. If you watch guys on TV, they're up here over their knees. It's kind of weird, but I don't know why we all do it. I guess it's just more comfortable and there's a little bit more swag to it. But I would always, test that rule a little bit. And we would go against the DBs and Coach Saban would absolutely rip into me. And then there's a clip I posted somewhere that was from the pre-national championship game with Clemson. I was getting really frustrated. The DBs were holding me. Again, I took practice like it was a game. Yeah. And Coach Saban, I was fed up and I was like, screw this. I tossed my helmet behind me. And Coach Saban just I look at my helmet, it's like going, it's almost like one of those like dust balls in like a Western movie. You see my helmet, it's just like keeps going and going and going. I'm like, shit. And then I look over and Coach Saban isn't focused on the next play. He's looking directly at me and just starts ripping me. Like I can't say all the things he said because we don't want that out there, but he is saying these things to me. And that was one of the biggest moments that I got ripped. And the thing I always did is I looked him in the eyes because I think one of the biggest things was he almost fed off of guys that would be, show no like
Just take the heat and
Yes.
say yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the kind of way Coach Saban was. You needed to be a guy that was confident. You know you messed up. Look, you got to own up to it. You got to look him in the eyes, and it may last pretty long and it may be pretty cruel.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he was right. Like, I shouldn't be throwing my helmet. I just let my mental get to me a little bit.
Do you think he went in the locker room after LSU scored that touchdown right before the half and just broke everything?
Oh, he goes. So
I was like, I told my buddy, I was like, yeah, Nick Saban's about to break everything in the locker room.
he probably went pretty nuts. The way it worked was if at halftime, the Coach Saban would go in his room, whatever. The coach would have a little time, and then it's just players
Slam
first.
the door.
So it's just players, and we're sitting in there, and we're like, oh God, like everyone's like knowing what's coming. And then the position or the offensive defense coordinator would come out, and then Coach Saban would come out. And I guarantee you, he absolutely ripped into those guys. Like, very valid to do it too. But that's why he's one of the best second half coaches. He comes in there and he's ripping into you, but he's also telling you what you're doing wrong, making the corrections needed. But yeah, he probably broke a couple of things.
Have you been out to his lake house?
I've not. Yeah. Well, I've been out of Lake Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
I've been around there, but I haven't really been in his lake house. Yeah.
We had before Dick down in Dallas, I played in a cover band. I did, we played like frat parties and things like that. And one time we got pitched to play his his lake house party. We didn't get to do it, but I was like, man, that would be awesome.
That would be nuts. I noticed the Zydeco. Is that Zydeco in Birmingham?
Yeah, Zydeco in Birmingham. We did that show with Adam Hood.
Oh, that's so big.
A legend. Yeah.
And so how did you and Mitch meet each other?
It's a long story.
Yeah, it's super long.
We'll tell it to you if you want to hear it.
I want to hear it.
Let Mitch tell it.
So I grew up, I was adopted by my grandparents.
Okay.
So me and my cousin grew up like brothers
And where'd you grow up?
in Montgomery, Alabama.
Okay.
And
Alabama boys.
so me and my cousin were brothers. We played every sport together, like literally every team since we were like 4 years old until high school. High school, I moved to Wetumpka, if you're familiar.
Yeah.
I went to Wetumpka. He stayed in Montgomery.
Okay.
And his path got a little dark. He started doing drugs. And since we separated, I didn't really know him that well as an adult. Then I guess you fast forward like 6 years, I started working in country music when I'm at Auburn.
And what were you doing in country music at the time?
I met a guy that I went to Auburn with, Clay Barker, who was good at music. And I was like, hey, let me market your shit. And I ended up being his manager. So I met Trey at Zydeco one night, and I posted his song on my Instagram story. And my cousin Cody called me and was like, how do you know Trey Lewis? I said, I don't know. He's just some guy from Birmingham, plays music. And he was like, well, that's the guy that was my intake at rehab. He's the one that saved my life.
I worked at a treatment center for 6 years after I got sober.
So I was like, oh, fuck, that's cool. And by this time, my cousin was sober a couple of years.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, cool. I just put that in the back of my head. Trey Lewis, pretty good guy then. Fast forward about 3 years, it was time for me and Clay to graduate and move to Nashville. So I called Trey and I was like, hey, dude, I don't know anybody else in Nashville. Where should I live? And he was
I'd only been living up here like 6 months at the time.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, I hate where I live. Let's get a place together. And at the time,
East Nashville, dude, not my spot. You know what I mean?
So at the time, we were like, all right, cool, let's do it. And Ella went to Auburn as well, and she was dating Clay. So we all just moved up here together and kind of winged it.
And then Mitch convinced me to put out Dick Down in Dallas, and I did it, and here we are.
How'd you convince him to do that?
COVID hit, so all the shows stopped, and we were all doing cover shows. That's how we paid our bills. And I remember one day I was like, hey guys, we're going to go hard on social media. We're not going to be like other artists and just chill. So I was like, hey, let's all get on socials. Let's do these lives everybody's doing. Let's get after it. And, luckily they were all like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, he told me about TikTok. He downloaded it for me, made my page.
Yeah, and I was like, we got to get you on this. And Dig Down in Dallas was a joke in the house. It was like a work tape that we would sing at bonfires.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, dude, this song is catchy. And I think if we market it right, people would buy it. And Trey always used to say, I don't give a shit about shit. And I was like, dude, if you really don't give a shit about shit, put out Dick Down in Dallas. And he came to me 2 hours later. I was like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's put it on TikTok.
Oh my God.
Well, the first viral video we had was like Facebook, and then from there, McKinney, one of the guys that wrote the song.
I've met
you
Matt.
McKinney.
He's the man. Yeah,
he's a Georgia alum, big Georgia fan, and we ended up living together for a little while. But he was like, he got it put on Old Row because he had like some contacts from Old Row when he was in college. He used to get videos put on there, and then it went on there, and then I posted a video of us in the studio. That was like the first video that like really, it got like 3 million views in like 4 hours or something.
And so wait, Mitch, you were doing, so how did you figure out this like marketing? What made you want to do marketing in the first place? And were you doing like the video, were you taking pictures, videos already, or were you just had a marketing knack?
Yeah, no, I wasn't doing that yet. So I graduated high school and I knew I wanted to go to Auburn. And right after I graduated,
How could you?
right after I graduated, I started a clothing company with one of my best friends.
Okay.
And it was fun. It was doing good. I went to Auburn and I met a show promoter. So I started sponsoring shows in college, like with my clothing company. So I was doing like Gorilla Zoe, Waka Flocka, Kid Ink, and Juicy J shows at fraternities all over like the Southeast.
I went to one of those Waka Flocka concerts at Auburn when I was in high school.
Nice.
So I was probably there. But we did Juicy J in Tuscaloosa, a big one, like in a parking lot. I don't know much about Tuscaloosa, but so it went well. I flunked out of college though because of how well it went. Like I thought I was the man. I was partying, and I was like, "Fuck school. I don't need school. Like, look what I'm doing without it." And I was just really ignorant. So my grandpa was like, "You have to move back home. I'm not paying for that." So I moved home and I got a graphic design degree. I joined a 2-year program to help with the clothing company. And I finished that program, and that's when I was like, "Hey, graphic design is not it. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing." And I moved back to Auburn, and I was like, Auburn is what I've always wanted. So I was like, I'll do marketing. I went to my graphic design teacher, who was really cool. And I was like, what do I need to do? I hate graphic design professionally. And he was like, dude, you're really like, charismatic person. Do marketing and team them together. And so I was like, fuck it. So I went back to Auburn, and I was like, hey, I got 2 years of graphic design. And they were like, yeah, we're not taking those. You got to do all 4 years. So I restarted, and that's when I met Clay.
Okay.
So I had marketing and graphic design going into, COVID. So I kind of had it in me, and I knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't like recording or anything yet. So I didn't have a camera.
In this video, so y'all are in COVID, you've convinced Trey to put this song out there. You released the song independently?
We put it out independently. It came out December 1st of 2020.
And who are you using? Like, so at this time, like
I just used like they're called 1RPM. They're just like you can put music out. You just upload the artwork and.
Is it like a DistroKid?
Yeah, it's like a DistroKid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you use one of those, you put it out there.
And it's a Billboard #1.
How did that?
Right there.
I know the song. Wow.
And it's,
my cousin, shout out to my cousin David Faulkner.
We beat out.
He loves that song.
Hell yeah. We beat out BTS that week in sales.
Oh
the
my
pop
God.
Yeah.
They were eating him on Twitter.
They were like coming after me on Twitter. I had like probably like 300 followers on Twitter.
They were fucking roasting him on Twitter. It was brutal.
So wait, but you released the song. Were you doing anything? Did y'all do anything leading up to it?
Oh, we did everything. I mean, it was such a viral thing that we spent zero money on promoting it come out.
But Trey had a team at this time. So Trey Bonner, who's our other co-host, was making the videos. And then he already had his manager, Alex Cape. So like he already had like a backbone ready for it.
Yeah, they started making merch and we were getting these tours planned, like coming out of COVID. It was crazy. That year we played 41 shows or something like that.
Dude, it was the weirdest things. I'd come home, and I remember one day he was like, hey, do you know somebody named Riff Raff? And I was like, yeah, of course. He was like, man, he keeps texting me. Who is that? And I was like, dude, you got to look him up. He's great.
But I will say this about Mitch before we go further on that. Mitch was always like in the living room, like watching like Gary V videos.
And huge Gary V guy.
Like watching like videos with like Scooter Braun and like plotting and scheming of like what the next thing was going to be. And he's still like that, Yeah. So like, and that's the coolest thing about us working together now. Back then we were just doing whatever, but it's like but our relationship is still kind of the same, even though that, you know, like he works, you know, he gets paid to do his job now, you know, but it's like, I feel like, you know, with me, he can be like, hey, let's try this. I saw this, you know, where like, so I can kind of like be his guinea pig on some things, you know, because he
really
can't just
fun.
go to like some artist that like he's working for that's like on a major label and be like, you know,
try this weird idea.
Like, you know, we can just.
So it's fun with Trey. But before we go too far, I want to also bring up a point that I like to point out. Like, you know, not to make it weird, but we went from like the lowest parts in our lives, like where I thought my cousin was going to die from addiction. And I remember like crying about that and be like, this is it, to where we are now. If that addiction would have never happened for my cousin, I would have never met Trey.
Yeah.
I got chills when y'all said the story.
We maybe would have never. He might have never put Down Dallas out if that never happened. We wouldn't be where we are now with, you know, living in, you know, great houses with great trucks, great friends, great professions, and like, I just like to point out that like whatever low point you are in life, like God has a plan.
Yeah.
So
for
like,
sure, without a doubt,
keep trucking and believe and trust in Him, because like it's. You know, I was at the lowest, dude. I was like, my cousin's going to die. Like, why is this happening to me, God?
DDID, we were sitting on our, I remember I was sitting on the edge of my bed and I was like,
his bed was on the floor.
I was like,
there's a mattress on the floor.
Yeah. I was like, hey, man, how much money you got in your bank account? You know, I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to make rent this month.
Yeah.
You know?
So he always has a plan when you question him. Anyway, it was a crazy time. Like,
so, and I've got a question on it. So, okay. Let me like because I like coming into stuff and not knowing. Like I know plenty of people probably know every single thing about you, every whatever. But the coolest thing is, so you guys, you all have your friendship, and you're convinced to put out this song, and you're not really putting any marketing dollars behind it. So you literally have a number 1 hit.
Yeah,
that is off of social media, off of just virality, is a banger. Were you like? What was the dopamine? Like, was it just crazy? Were you like stressed? Were you anxious? Were you extremely happy? Like, what was that feeling like?
It was just crazy. It was really a crazy time in my life. But I mean, it just validated all the crap that I went through to get there. You know, it's like, oh, okay. So it is all worth it. You know, I'll never forget like driving in my van and being like, okay, God, if this is like all I get to do is play in a cover band on the weekends and write songs here in Nashville, like, that's cool. I'll do that for the rest of my life if that's what you want me to do. But I was like, wouldn't it be cool to have just like a little bit of success to show people that if you never give up and chase your dreams, it like works out?
Because he had been doing music for like 9 years at that time or something crazy.
Yeah. What got you into music? So when did you start music?
So when I got sober, I worked at Tropical Smoothie in Hoover next to Sam's. Yeah.
So you went from tropical smoothie worker to number 1.
And well, yeah. So I worked there, and I was living in a halfway house in Bessemer.
Okay.
And, you know, when you go through the 12 steps, you go back and make amends to the people you hurt. And I went and made amends to my dad. And me and my dad had like a strained relationship, you know, of course, when I was on drugs. That's what drugs and alcohol do to a man. But I went to him and made amends, and I was about 6 months sober. And he asked me if I wanted to move in and live with him. And I was like, yeah. I hadn't lived with my dad since I was like 3.
Wow.
So I moved in with him. Me and him became like best friends. It was awesome, man. And I decided after about a month or 2 of living with him that next paycheck I got, I was going to buy a guitar, because I was like,
why?
Well, you know, they say idle hands is like devil's workshop, you know, and I was just like, I need something to do.
Okay.
That like, and like right before I went to rehab, I would like go to my friend's house, and he had this like shitty electric guitar, and he had like this little line 6 pod. If you play guitar, you know what it is. And I learned the "Wish You Were Here" Pink Floyd little intro, and I just knew that was like cool, you know. And I remember like sitting on the steps at rehab and singing Jaco and Starting With Me, and I was like, if I can get sober, I'm gonna buy a guitar and learn how to play that. And like, I grew up with like uncles that played guitar, and I always loved to sing. But I was like, if I can just get sober, I'm just gonna like do that.
So you picked up the guitar, you learned it.
So I went and bought the guitar. I taught myself how to play it. I had a little chord book. I took like 2 lessons. I was like, screw this. I just want to play and make noise. But like from the first time I played that first chord, I was like, oh man, this feels like better than anything I've ever done, you know? And I don't know. I feel like, I always say, I feel like I got sober, and like like really got sober, you know, not just like get my parents off my back, get somebody off my back. Like I really like did the work and, you know, like did everything I could to like get myself right. And I feel like once I did that, God was like, okay, here's your gift. Go share it with the world. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's what I did.
So you just, what you learned, you said you took 2 lessons and then you just kind of learned, like, I've always been a guy, I've wanted to learn guitar, but I'm like, dang, I can't read this, like this thing. Yeah. You know, I need to buy a guitar.
I still don't know music. I'm not very great at guitar, but I'm good enough to write songs and, you know, make stuff up. So.
And then you started write, so you get that, you start writing, and then singing. Like you were singing your whole life, but you had no coaching on that, or did you have?
I didn't really have any coaching on it. I mean, my mom had an elaborate karaoke machine, which she still does now. So I mean, like I said, we grew up going to the beach and stuff, and playing guitar and all that stuff, and I just kind of went for it, you know.
That's fascinating. So then, okay, and I know I'm sorry.
You're cool. You're doing the interview now.
I like this. Cool. I like this. This is fun for me.
Yeah.
So when you get this number 1, what does it look like after that in the sense of like, okay, are you signed with a label now? Did you like were people reaching out left and right? Like,
yeah, it was crazy, man. We the first show we played was December 5th, my birthday of 2020. So the song comes out December 1st. We play the show in Statesboro, Georgia at the Blue Room. And
the best place in the world.
It is crazy, dude. I mean, every time we play there, it's crazy. But I mean, I've got the number 1 song. Like it.
Nuts,
but
dude.
the whole way there, you know, it's 8 hours. The whole way there, my manager shows up to Nashville. We get in the van and he gives me a pair of AirPods, which I still have. It was my first pair. Not even know what AirPods were, you know? I mean, I did, but I was like really nice. And we were on the phone all day with taking label meetings. And I had labels from offers from every label in town. And thanks to Cole Taylor, which he's a songwriter in town. I don't know if you know him.
I know Cole.
Yeah.
He lives out at Old Hickory.
Yeah.
I know Cole. Play golf with him. Great guy.
Cole Taylor gave us a recommendation through Bradley Jordan for my attorney, Scott Safford.
Okay.
And Scott Safford, he's one of the best here in Nashville. Shout out to Scott. But I just spent so much time talking, and you know, we had an offer of like, I think $2 million was the biggest number I saw come across the table. And just with the COVID and everything, I just didn't sign anything. I knew that song wasn't ever going to be on the radio station, you know? And I was like, well, I'll just own this master and, you know, just write it out. And we did, but I ended up signing a publishing deal with Sony Music Publishing. So now I get paid to write songs. That was always a big dream of mine. And then, I guess it was about a year and a half ago, I signed a deal with Riverhouse Artist. And but I still own a lot of my older catalog, that and stuff. And then the stuff I'm doing now is Go Forward. I got a full record coming out next year. But the coolest thing about Dick Down to Dallas, I will say, is that, you know, we had all these friends here in town, like Matt McKinney, Joy Beth Taylor, Ella Langley here, you know, my roommate. And one thing that song did is that it shined a light on our friend group. You know, everybody got publishing deals. Yeah. Everybody got, you know, record. Ella has a record, you know, deal now. She just had a song come out with Co Wetzel, you know, like she's crushing it.
Nuts.
You know, and just to see it changed everybody's life, not just mine, you know, and that's the coolest thing is, you know, like we were saying earlier, when you see your friends win, I mean, that's what it's all about. So,
that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just a group of people messing around.
People just messing around.
Come out with this song.
But that's what they say. It only takes one song. And I mean, that's to change your life. And, you know, I mean, dude, if I was doing anything else, like any other job, I'd either be making minimum wage or like cutting a lot of grass. You know, I'm a high school dropout. So, you know.
Hey, cutting grass is fun sometimes.
I don't know about you, but I hate it. I pay somebody to cut my grass.
I might be in the business. Yeah. Depends what you're paying. No, I'm just kidding. I used to cut grass in high school. I did like a little thing. And I loved it for some reason. I put on the AirPods and just go.
Yeah, just go.
But
so you played football. I want to know how have you always been like super charismatic? And I found some interviews you would do on like media day with your like fellow like, you know, football players. How did that come about? Were you always like the funny, loud, liked kid, or like were you shy and that kind of helped you get out? Like, have you always been that kind of?
Yeah, I would say that. So, love the way I was raised. I'm one of 5/6 because we kind of have kind of an adopted brother. It's hard to explain, and won't get into all that. But so I had a lot of siblings. I was the youngest, and the youngest is always, learning a lot because you have all the older ones to look after, and always had someone to hang out with. And I think boarding school was a pivotal part in just, developing my own self. Like you're not with your parents. I remember getting there to boarding school and looking up at the ceiling. I'm in a bunk bed and I'm like, what the hell have I done? Like, this is nuts. Like,
I went to military school, so I get the feeling.
That's a lot worse. Probably.
I got kicked out.
Was boarding? They were nice to you at boarding school, though, right? It's not like a punishment at all.
No. In Woodbury Forest, where I went to school, unbelievable school, great school, and just a lot of opportunity. But it was just hard in the sense you were away from your family, and I loved my parents. I loved being around. Like we did a lot of family dinners or whatnot. But I guess there I developed this confidence, and I loved just doing dumb stuff, like making a funny video. At the time when I was in high school, it'd be Snapchat. It'd be like a funny Snapchat memory. Like I could go back and find these funny memories. And, Instagram wasn't too big, but starts to like get pretty big. And then
was Vine a thing?
Vine was maybe a thing. I never got into it, which is surprising. Like I never got into Vine. But then I just had these like creative videos that I wanted to do, and I wanted to like have fun with people and create something. And then moving on to college, like when I got to Alabama, I think because I'd been off by my own, I come in freshman year and I'm with a bunch of other guys who haven't been on their own, they're with their parents and with their families. And so they come in that class, like I've got a little bit of confidence because I feel like I'm at home, I feel like I'm at home away from home, especially Alabama. It's Tuscaloosa. I feel like I'm more home than I was in high school because I'd been to that campus so many times. And so I think I just was comfortable, and I always loved, including like other people into things. And so that kind of made me this just like, I just loved, meeting people, talking to people. I love communication. Yeah. And I guess in the locker room, I just slowly started to be that guy. I wasn't afraid to, like, when I walked in there, everyone was a teammate. Doesn't matter if they're the star player or not. I wasn't really afraid to talk to anyone. So started talking to people, and then just TikTok comes out and that whole thing, like, it was funny. We started doing videos, and my stuff started popping off. I was one of the first SEC players, if not the first SEC football player on TikTok. Nice. It wasn't doing anything cheesy. It was more like, we're in the locker room. We have personalities. We do fun stuff. We mess around. I shit talk more than probably anyone on the practice field. Yeah. But we get in the locker room and we're just messing around. And I was like, let me capture these moments. And so I started doing it. And then the interview thing came up because I got interested in that stuff, and I liked being on camera. I'm just one of those people. Like I did broadcasting when I was in 9th grade back in Birmingham, and then at Woodbury did some like stuff as well where I was doing some camera stuff or whatnot, and just loved doing it. And this group, Alabama.com, Birmingham News, had an opportunity to, they had one guy walking around interviewing players, and the guy didn't really love doing it. And I was like, gosh, this is sick. Like, he's getting to do this at media day. So I'd like talk to them, and they're like, wait, you want to do this? And like, you would love to like prepare and do it. And I was like, yeah. So I started doing it with them every like college football playoff media day. Sick. I would be their guy they went to. And it was just fun because I had a different relationship with every individual on the team, and there's just different guys. And so it was a good way to bring out my personality, and guys felt comfortable talking to me. So I could go up to anyone and just mess with them, like ask them some questions, that they didn't feel was like your regular media source.
And they knew you had the best, like the best intentions.
Yeah. I think
they knew you weren't going to try to fuck them. So it was like, cool, I can talk to Mac.
100%. Yeah. I was never trying to like make anyone upset or do anything. I literally just being just the goofy guy, asking questions. So that became a really fun thing. And that definitely led into me enjoying that more and more to when I graduated, continuing to somehow be in that world.
Yeah. So the podcast is called DM Monday because when everything happened, Trey's DMs went crazy. Like, we had weird things from like, I
got one the other night. Let me pull it up here. Keep going.
So, but my question is, like, as an Alabama football player, and we don't have to go into super detail, but like, are your DMs crazy every Saturday night? Or like, like, do you see some of the starters that are like, maybe superstars, like, are their DMs just going nuts? I can only imagine it is.
Yeah. Like, when I was at Alabama, there was, I mean, look, for the starters, after every game that you played well in, I'm sure your DMs were blown up. You see guys like, we had a guy this year. I'm not on the team anymore. There was a guy this year.
More on the team than us.
Yeah, more on the team than us.
A freshman tight end. And I remember he got on Instagram Live, and it was like, he was shocked. He was like, holy shit, there's like 3,000, 4,000, whatever people in here. And he didn't have that much following, but people's DMs would go crazy. For me, when I got to experience, it was, after a big win, big game, but especially after like when we won the national championship, my phone was like, like just listing off like text messages, tweets, Instagram messages. It feels pretty good. I mean, it is pretty crazy. And then still now I'll get something, DMs about Alabama, sometimes trying to shit talk me about Alabama or something. Yeah. But it was during that time the DMs did go pretty wild, pretty nuts.
Yeah, I can imagine, dude.
What do you ever lose faith in Saban like some Alabama fans do?
No, I guess it's the way I was programmed. I mean, we're all like, you come into that facility, you come into that program, and Coach Saban just got a way of like getting you to invest in the process to an extent that I can't even really describe. My dad was always fascinated. We would have 5 stars come in, could be the number one guy at any other school in the country. Yeah. But these 5 stars would ride the bench 1, 2, 3, even 4 years, and they're still there. And it's like Coach Saban had a way of just like, someone said it on something the other day. It's almost like you're brainwashed. You kind of are. Like you're like, but it worked. The system's working. Yeah. You're doing the right things. You're seeing you're improving in the game, and then you're seeing success. So you believe him and you trust him. All that to say now, like the things he's done, even when it goes to this season, hasn't been the best season for us. We haven't looked like the best team that we've been in the past.
That defense, though.
Oh, it's looking real good. Yeah. But the Jalen Milroe, you know, Coach Saban sat him for a game. Yeah. And people are like, what the heck's going on? These other quarterbacks coming in. Well, all this to say, like, there's not many coaches in the country, maybe any coach, that, again, like that decision he made in 2018 national championship game with putting Tua in, that are going to make that decision to say, hey, let's bench this guy for the purpose of, I can't say exactly what his main purpose was, but I think it was to help him, one, solidify to the fan base, like, this is our guy, but also to let that guy take the back seat.
Did you notice, like, after the Texas loss, like how Milroe like stepped up and was like, this is my responsibility, like all that stuff? I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. I saw him do that. He seems like a great guy. And
what do you think about the NIL stuff? Do you just wish it was around when you were there, or you like?
Look, part of me,
missed the train.
You say you're a huge Gary Vee guy. I had a chance my junior year summer to go out and hang out with Gary Vee for a little bit in New York for like a week. But Gary was telling me, or I was talking to his brother AJ, and they're like, if you have one more year, like, you should definitely consider it, because like, I could make some good money. For personally, like, selfishly, yes, I wish that NIL was there when I was there, because I would get.
Yeah, you would have got everything.
You know what I'm saying? I would have had a lot of money coming out of college, which would have been nice. But looking at it now, it's a very, very complex thing. I think that, should guys get paid? Probably so, just because the university makes a crap ton of money off of these guys. The NCAA makes a crap ton of money off these guys. On the other end, look, we're getting a scholarship. We're getting an education, which I think, like, education has kind of been devalued over time, but it's still super important. Yeah. There's a lot of arguments for
food,
against it.
Clothes.
Yep, food, clothes, travel. Yeah. Like, they sat us down one time because some
Dodge
guys
Charger,
living. You get a free place to live. Yeah, you do get a Dodge Charger.
Yes, no. Oh god,
clip that.
Slip up right there.
He said yes.
He said yes. Oh no. But all that to say, I think the only thing with it, I think that it should have been something addressed earlier. I don't think. Maybe there's not a right time that it should have been put into place, but I think it's a huge challenge because they've introduced the NIL, and it's like the wild, wild west.
It is.
It's nuts.
You can't. It's hard to track certain things. Like, obviously there was things going on beforehand at every university or school probably in the country, but now it's like you have like there's a reason, there's a way you can do these things, you can make these things work, and I think it develops. One, it's a struggle for coaches, because they're like, what the hell do we do? This was just put in our lap. It was like you just got put this whole thing, and you're like, we've got to reinvent the wheel a little bit. But for players, I think it's a challenge too, because you got guys that are making more money than other guys. And at the end of the day, everyone's playing on the same team, putting in the same amount of work. And you have guys making a bag. And then look, like if I can't lie, like if I saw someone, I'm like, dang, that person's making more money than me or a lot more. Like I'm putting in the same work, and yeah, they may be starting on Saturdays, but it's still a hard concept to grasp.
It's like I'm out here paying for my tuition, and he just got $1 million.
Yeah, exactly.
We're doing the same thing. Yeah. So
it's so all in all, NIL, we could go down that rabbit hole. It's a very, I don't really have, I'm not as knowledgeable about it as I should be.
Yeah.
Need to read
You're
up
like, wasn't
more.
me. So
yeah,
I
I
wasn't
didn't
in
have
it
it when I was there.
People have said I should get involved with it now and try to do something business wise with it, but I just don't really know enough about it, and it's just like it's crazy out there with the NIL world. What I was, and a thought that popped back in my head to say again, that there was value prior without NIL. Like guys, just we take some things for granted. I mean, especially at Alabama, they took us one time and they're like, because I think some guys were mentioning it, like we want to get paid for whatever. And they're like, look, y'all realize y'all have flights. Like we get flown out to all these away games. Mm-hmm. That costs some money.
Oh, trust me, I know.
You know,
I mean, I got 10 guys in my crew, and I got to book flights, and I'm like, geez,
dude, booking a whole entire massive plane.
Yeah.
You get police transports to and from everywhere. We're going in these buses. You got the bus fees to pay. We're getting food every week. You know, free food. We have chefs. Like we get the workout equipment. We're getting nice equipment. We're getting clothes. We're getting all these things, and I think a lot of guys take that for granted. Like that's a lot of money.
And then you go from having like really no concept of money, because I've been there too, to having a ton of money.
Yeah,
it's like, what do I do with this? You know, like how do you stay? You know, that's a whole nother thing. It's like, how do you stay focused on what's important? You know, it's the game and you know your career and all that stuff.
When you got all that money, what were you think? Were you like, what'd you do with it?
I mean, you know Muscadine Bloodline, you know those guys? Gary
from
and Charlie.
Birmingham, aren't
they? They're from Mobile.
Mobile, okay. Alabama.
Best piece of advice that I got during that time was Charlie sent me a text and said, don't sign anything until you get your first royalty check. And I got my first royalty check, and it was like 6 digits. And I was like, oh, my God. What do I do? Like, what? I mean, I think it just sat there in the bank for like 8 months. I didn't even know what to do with that.
I know what he did one time.
What did he do?
He called me.
Oh, God.
I'll never forget. He said, hey, because Trey doesn't care about like nice things that much. And I do. Like I look up cars all the time. I know everything about it. And he was like, hey, what's your dream truck? And I said, well, probably a GMC AT4 2500. And he said, okay, cool. That's what I'll get. And he hung up. And he went to the dealership and ordered one. For himself.
Yeah, for myself.
And he was like,
I thought you were about to say he gave you one. And I was like,
no, if I had that kind of money, I would. He did get one though.
Yeah, he had it, and he left me the keys one weekend. He went on the road, and he's like, dude, drive my truck this weekend. And, you know, naturally, you know, your first instinct is like, no, I'm okay, thank you. But then I was like, damn, that is my dream truck. And I was like, all right, I'll drive it for just like Friday and Saturday. And I fell in love. I was like, it was my dream truck for a reason. I love it. And I started looking them up, and I was like, I can't afford this. And then I got a job and got paid well. And I was like, maybe I can afford it. And I looked them up again. I was like, no, but I can afford the 1500. And so I went and bought the 1500. They're sitting out there. They look identical.
oh, look at you guys, truck guys.
Yeah, that was fun. So how did you transition from football to work? And did you know what you wanted to do? Like, did you know you wanted to stay around football? Or were you just kind of like lost? How did you get in Nashville?
Were you like, well, you got your education, so
yeah. So I got
What'd you major in?
4 years at Alabama. I don't really
football scholarship.
This is gonna sound so Alabama
business.
It's probably gonna be like crops and
no, I didn't.
That's Auburn. Auburn does that.
Auburn's crops
Farm
and
college.
dust farming, if that's a thing.
Yeah.
Definitely not a thing, but
and losing
a bunch of barns out there and stuff. Man, I don't even know.
Everybody always gives me those
Sky
jokes.
Bar is pretty cool. I will say that though.
I've never been in that bar.
All right, what's your major?
Sorry, my major at Alabama. Like, God, this is going to make me sound Alabama, and it's just not meant to sound that way. But this is bad. I don't even know if I don't really know my the first. So what? Okay, let me take this back. My first major was public relations and communications.
Okay,
that's normal. That's what I was in, and we had a couple other guys in those majors, but had public relations and communications. I was coming up on my 4th year. I got a start in a spring game, kind of felt myself a little bit like, okay, like, you know, if I'm starting to spring game for Alabama, I can probably play somewhere else and get good time. And, you know, and Alabama was my dream, and I wanted to complete and graduate while playing at Alabama. So I wanted to graduate early enough that if I wanted to transfer for a 5th year grad year, could go somewhere and get, you know, good education and get really the main thing was a good opportunity to play ball and really play and compete out there on Saturdays. And so I graduated in December, got my A club ring, you know, felt like the Alabama door was closed. It was wrapped up, you know, the 4 years was over. And so I put my name in the transfer portal, and my major, I ended with a different major because I wanted to graduate faster. So I just talked to our tutors and was like, what major can I turn this into to get the credits quick enough and take the classes? So that's why I don't really know. I forget the name of the major that's on the diploma. Should go look that up. But
I didn't even get a diploma. I was like, no, I don't care.
But I so graduated, and then I was like, all right. So I put my name in the transfer portal, and it's just now coming COVID time. So a couple of schools are reaching out. The very first school that reached out to me was Vanderbilt. Nice. There was a long snapper who was my freshman year roommate at Alabama, Scott Meyer, went on to play at Vandy and played for Vandy. And, you know, so I was already talking to him, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go. So I end up talking to a couple of schools. It was really hard during COVID with the recruiting process. You can't really go anywhere. You can't get seen by anything. I was training with a guy named Devlin Hodges or Duck Hodges, who y'all may know.
Yeah.
He's the man. We were sneaking onto fields and getting like kicked off by the cops.
I know that name.
Devlin, he played for the Steelers, played for Stanford. Dates Laney now.
Dates Laney.
But yeah, we were sneaking on the fields, getting kicked off. I remember some Karen came up to us, was yelling at us. I was like, look, we're just trying to get in a couple routes out here.
Have you seen that video where that guy's like, I'm trying to fish out here? She says, you can't fish out here. You got them stupid pants on.
I haven't seen
what I'm talking about?
No, I need to watch it.
We can cut that out.
I mean, I just want to fish, ma'am.
Oh, no, hell, you can't fish. You don't know how to fish. You don't even wear the right kind of clothes. You got damn stupid shoes on anyway. Where'd you get them ugly breeches?
But all that to say, it was just super hard. And Vanderbilt was like, yeah, we have a spot for you. I went in, and I remember the first time I got to go, my cousin was at Belmont playing college tennis at the time. And I'd already met some people in Nashville. I love music. So there's country music scene, big city, cool city, whatever. I go to a visit, and the visit I had, I went to Aldean's the night before with some guys, Vandy guys. Almost, I'm just going to come clean with this now because the coach, coach, but I went out really hard that night at Aldean's, and I'm staying at my cousin's apartment. My phone turned off. I didn't have a charger. And so I wake up the next morning. I was supposed to be in the coach's office at 10:30. So I get up, my phone's off, and I'm like, I was supposed to set an alarm. Like, my phone's off. I haven't showered. Haven't done anything. I'm like, I got to charge this.
Alcohol's just coming out of your pores.
So I go to my car to plug in my phone. I'm plugging in. I'm like, please don't be 10:30. Please don't be near 10:30. It's like 10:10. And I'm like, oh God, I got to get there. I haven't showered. I was planning on showering. I'm supposed to make an appearance to the coach and the wide receivers coach and the head coach. So I rushed to the thing. I still have the outfit I had on from the night before. It cleaned up a little bit, brushed my hair and stuff, but make it to the office. Had a great meeting with Aaron Moorhead, who was the wide receiver coach at the time. And he sat me down and for an hour and a half, 2 hours, went through the plays with me, went through my film, made it feel super personable. In Alabama, I had to develop that relationship with coaches throughout 4 years. At Vanderbilt, look, this guy was already ready to invest in me, had a spot for me, showed me where he was going to let me, where I was going to play, what I was going to do for them in my role. This stood out a lot to me. And then he ended up leaving before I got there, sent me a text. I think he's with the Eagles, wide receiver coach now. But all that to say, ended up at the end of the day going to Vanderbilt and saying that's where I was going to play my last year. Summer camp rolls around. We're in COVID. It doesn't feel like football. I'm in a new place, new program. I mean, Alabama, Vanderbilt, completely different sides of the SEC,
Bush
still
League,
SEC football. But I get there and I'm like, holy shit! There's all these new people. I got to learn all these new plays. We're wearing masks constantly throughout the building, and it's just
Was that hard to stop wearing Alabama gear now since when you're playing at a different school?
I'm sure he still showed up in his Alabama shorts.
No.
Did you have to make it be all right, cool, I'm going to leave all this shit in Birmingham?
Yeah. I left all my Alabama stuff at home and I was invested. I was like, look, I'm going to go to Vanderbilt. I'm going to be a part of this team. This is my new home. They're So I go there and it's just tough. Like I'm telling you, mask and football, and we're having to go in 4 different groups. We're not going as like a whole team out to run conditioning, and it didn't feel like football that I was used to.
Yeah, that sucks.
And it really challenged your love for the game. So that summer camp's going on. I end up losing one grandparent who I was really close to in Alabama, and then my dad's mom. And then a couple of weeks later, I lose my mom's dad, who was was extremely close to both sides of grandparents. And so was really down. You know, mentally it was already challenging with COVID, all these rules and things we had to follow, and didn't ever go out. Like I'm in a new city. I can't even go out. Like
getting a test.
I'm getting a test like every other day. Like it was just a ton. And I was like, damn, okay. And then I lost this family, and I was in a mental funk at this point. And then first game of the season, we're in the warm up, and I'd got full body cramps at the end of summer camp. And then from having to play every tight end position, which is a whole other story because of COVID protocols, the tight ends were gone one day, and I was the guy who knew all the plays. So, but did something like had full body cramps, and then did something to my hamstring, like pulled it, whatever, strained it, whatever, it was bruised that first game in the warm ups. And so I'm like, holy shit, like I'm here. Like this kind of sucks right now. I'm in this new city. I live by myself, you know, not able to see my cousin or hang out with him and his friends. Can't really do anything. We're not supposed to. And I was so invested in the ball, is all I thought about every single day. And so eventually talked to Coach Mason. Derek Mason was the head coach at the time. And just literally was like, look, like we talked 3 days in a row, spent an hour each day with me, which spoke volumes of him and his character. Cause I don't think I hardly spoke to Coach Saban at Alabama. This is the head coach of this program, taking hours of his day out to talk to a guy and come up with a decision. And I said, look, I'm going to opt out. We had that decision to opt out so you could save another year of eligibility. Yeah. So I opt out. I go back home, come back to school. I'm doing Zoom classes and stuff, whatever it may be. Finished that year, and I felt just lost. Like I'm talking about, like I was down bad. I was on the couch every day, going to Zoom classes, like was waking up like right before class, wasn't really even paying attention, wasn't a great classmate. So I apologize, first of all, to all my classmates, because some of them I had some struggles with. And got into it with because I had all this stuff going on. You know, I lost like 2 grandparents who meant a lot to me. I'm done with football, and being done with football for me was like Shawshank Redemption. It's like when you're in, you know, I've never been in prison, but like it was like that feeling like I've learned everything this certain type of way. I've invested everything, and my identity has gotten wrapped up into this. And then it's like, is it gone?
I'm sure that's hard for any player.
Any player. It was horrible. Like, cause I realized like I was like an identity crisis. I put so much into that and needed to have put more into my faith, more into like family, friends, other things. Now I had some business stuff going on. Like I'd worked for some companies and was networking in college. So I had stuff going on where I'm making money and able to like buy things and feel fine financially.
But it ain't about that. It's just about like what makes you feel like you're striving. You know what I mean?
And I didn't feel like I was going anywhere. I was down. I'm telling y'all, I was down bad. I had no clue what my next step was going to be. I was just in a horrible mental funk. And one day I just said, screw it. Like, got to do something. Went out and started training with a guy named Jeremy Holt, who trains like Kittle and Robert Tonyan and all those, you know, bunch of the premier tight ends in the league, and started training with him, just like training. I had no purpose. I didn't know, was I trying to play ball? Like, was I trying to go to the league?
Was I trying to do something that was close to competing?
Exactly. And so I was out there every day, started training. And then that's like kind of, okay, now I'm working out. Now I'm like doing these things that are good for my body. I'm getting outside, meeting some new friends, met a great friend group with all of that are now some of my best friends in Nashville. And then today where I am is like, look, I've got this one side of things where I'm doing some social media stuff because I've been, you know, blessed and thankful for like the platform that Alabama gave me. And then just with like getting opportunities on there. So I have a current, you know, partnership with Dick's Sporting Goods. And then on the other side of thing, I have like what I call the business entrepreneur side, which is where, you know, consulting for startup companies, trying to get equity, and then giving them creative consulting, connecting them to people. And so I've been just hustling, doing all these different things, but I've gotten to the point where like, look, I've had a consistent, you know, client or person I'm working with on this end. And then on this end, I'm making money off some social media stuff. And so I've been doing just random fun stuff, trying to figure out what that one main thing is that's going to drive me, that I'm going to love like football. And I don't have it figured out, but I'm in a.
Well, from the outside looking in, it looks like you do. So you're doing a good job.
I think the thing I have figured out is that I don't have it figured out.
Yeah.
I don't really know, but at the same time, I'm doing things that make me happy. I love getting to, I'm not working a 9 to 5 day. Like I'm getting to go out, come here, talk to you guys.
You're working right now.
Yeah,
it's the best job ever.
Now.
That's what I'm saying.
You just get paid to be yourself, man. That's the coolest thing.
It's awesome. So I've loved that, and I'm working on some cool things coming up that y'all will hear about. Hopefully, we can get you on that podcast I was talking about. But doing some cool things and really trying to do like a revamp right now. Really like working on my identity too, is who I am faith wise. Like I think that again, one of the biggest problems when I got out of that college football thing is I was a Christian the whole time, believe in God, but like then when I get out of it, like, dude, if I really had a good relationship with the Lord, then it wouldn't have been as challenging. Yeah, I wouldn't have fallen off.
After Took Down to Dallas came out, like a year after that, I started going to therapy. And I've always, through my sobriety and stuff, always had a relationship with Christ. But that really, taking care of my mental stuff and like you, man. I mean, I lost my grandmother, went through a divorce, and my dad died when I was 26 too. So I had like just a bunch of loss back to back, and then went through a divorce, moved to Nashville, song blew up, and I'm just like, what do I do with all this? So I had to take a second and just like get all that back going.
Yeah, that's similar. And that's kind of the place I'm in right now. Is like, look, I've done some really cool things. I've had unbelievable opportunities. I'm working on like, look, I'm financially stable. Where do I want to be? What's the main thing to me? Which is like, I want to be a husband, want to be a father, want to raise kids. Like, okay, how do I get there? And what am I going to do that's going to make me happy? Look, a lot of the things I do right now do make me happy. Yeah. But it's like, I do think for me, I need to find like that one big thing or, two big things I want to invest my time in. And so I'm at that point, like, look, made a great bit of money and made, some great friendships and relationships, but I'm in therapy. I'm doing a little bit of therapy myself, doing a little bit of reading a lot more scripture than usual, praying more than usual, and just really trying to like dive into like, look, it doesn't have to be a rush to get anywhere. I need to make sure that I feel good and nothing can determine that, because then, life's going to have a lot of ups and downs. You're going to have the number one, and then there's going to be years where it's not, you don't have the number one. And it's like, if you let those be the things that determine your happiness, you're never going to be happy. And I see people just chase, dude. Like you got to get, like, you don't want to be getting it when you're 39, 40, 50 years old. Like, figure it out now, like spend some time, get your mental right, have your foundation, those things you latch onto when it gets tough. And then it's like, from there, I think you'll be a lot better off. So that's what I'm trying to do right now.
What's your go-to spot in Tuscaloosa?
Ooh, I love
Baumhauer's, of course.
Baumhauer's
is my favorite place on earth.
So we had a Baumhauer, Wes Baumhauer, played with me at Bama. His parents, or the Baumhauers.
But if you're doing
grandson, I guess,
pregame, what's your spot?
I would probably say not even just a great spot for eating wise. I always loved Buffalo Phil's. It's on the corner.
You ate there when we were in there, Tuscaloosa.
You didn't like it?
I mean, their wings are like the size of my pinky.
They're teeny wings.
But see, I'm a weirdo. I didn't even get the wings. I would get the same thing every year in college. It would be a chicken strip sandwich with bacon and cheese and their French fries.
Nice.
Every single time. Never
was
changed my order.
It was just, it had a good atmosphere.
Yeah.
But the food was it was all right. I wanted Baumhauer's, and we went with our sound guy, Nick, and I was parking the truck, and I was like, it looks kind of packed. Run in there and get us a table, and I'll park. And I parked, and I love Baumhauer's. My number one, like, if it's my birthday, I want Baumhauer's. And I was like, yo, I hyped it up to some of the band guys. I was like, you're going to love it. And Nick's like walking back, and he looks like disappointed. I was like, what's up? He's like, I don't know. They said something about a fucking coach is in there. And I was like, oh, Saban's doing his fucking radio show at this Baumhauer's.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're never going to get a seat here.
Thursday. Yeah.
I was like, we're never going to get a seat, dude. Let's go. And we had to go to Buffalo Phil. Is that what you called it?
Yeah.
And so I wanted Baumhauer's. So no matter what, at that point, I was going to be pissed off. So I was like, yeah, this is okay, I guess.
Are you like a Galette's, Rounders?
Wait, before I say that, there's one other place. Food places. Chuck's was great. Obviously high end, and then you got Five. Yeah. There's some good places. I don't know a lot about a lot, to be honest. That's what I tell people all the time. I didn't eat that many places, and I was there for 4 years. Haven't even eaten that many places in Nashville besides like a lot of fast food chain stuff. But was
Cane's, obviously.
Yeah, Raising Cane's. I went to Heat Pizza, became a staple.
Yeah.
Have you been to Heat Pizza?
Nah, I used to eat the Chinese restaurant next to Moe's. Chin or whatever it's called.
Chin.
I lived behind Galette's in Stadium Apartments before they tore them down.
No way.
Yeah.
That's a good spot to be. But Heat Pizza Bar became a spot we started doing. It was, guys, we went there on Thursday night game week and started a tradition. It was me, my friend Giles Amos, who was tight end from Georgia, Pierce Quick, who was an offensive lineman from Bama. And we started, it was just us three, and our other buddy, Jake Ruttenberg, actually tagged along for one of the first ones who wasn't on the team. But it started to become a thing where the team always went there. Great pizza, great food. And then we would use that whenever we had a bye week or whatever the time would be. That would be a great pregame spot. Getting pizza, drinking some beers. And the owner's a great guy. So I love that. I love that spot. But for bars, it's crazy. I went there for 4 years. I don't think I went to like a ton of bars. I can't even name them off the top of my head. I didn't go to all the bars. Yeah. But the ones that were my favorite while I was there, I loved Innisfree. Yeah. I loved Galette's.
I used to play at Innisfree, and I saw Damian Harris in there. Yeah. Mark Ingram in there. I saw him in there. And then what's the little restaurant next to it? Hooligans or something like that? Yeah. I saw Derrick Henry in there one time. I made him take a picture with me. He was like, "Hold on, man. I'm trying to get my food." I was like, "Too bad. We're taking a selfie."
Yeah, so Innisfree was a spot. I loved Galette's. Both those are great. Galette's was wild. Wine Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I
used to play at Galette's before they redid it inside.
Have you been there since they redid it?
Yeah, we just played down there a few weeks ago. Tennessee weekend.
That's what you were just talking about from the bomb hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still pissed off about it.
But before they remodeled it in there, they didn't have heat in there, and they would have that. They had that little stage in the corner, and we'd play down there every Thursday night. And there would be cold air. We'd be up in the top room doing squats and jumping jacks and push ups to try and warm up before we played for 4 hours straight.
Galette's is a spot. And then surprisingly, one of the places that I used to go a bunch, especially as a freshman and sophomore, was Rounders. Rounders VIP. Yeah. We had some times in the Rounders VIP little section.
Yeah, our friend Seth does all the lights and stuff there.
And those bars Rounders, Galette's, they've turned into clubs. It's a full-on club at a college.
You have to pay a lot to get in. There's covers that are a lot.
Fees. I mean, I moved to Nashville. It's I'm not even have to pay. The lines are longer. Yeah. Actually, I take that back. Some of the lines at Tuscaloosa can be just as long, and you're paying
I will say this. I played in a lot of different college markets for a long time. Auburn is one of the coolest places ever
to play.
Yeah, because it still has such a small town vibe. There's one bar. There's really 3 or 4 bars, but Sky Bar is the bar to go to.
Yeah, there's one bar that everyone goes
Tuscaloosa, there's just too much DJ and stuff.
Tuscaloosa has the best tailgating I've been to, though.
But Roll Tide,
Roll Tide.
The quad is unbeat, dude. When I went to Auburn, the worst part was you'd be tailgating, and someone would call you dude, come to this tailgate. And you, okay, drop me a pin. And it's a 40-minute walk. And you're like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to see you today. Yeah. I'll meet you at the stadium. But at, Tuscaloosa, the quad,
it's right there.
You can walk 5 minutes to anybody's tailgate that you know.
Any fraternity house, any tailgate, any restaurant, bar.
So that's the best tailgate and the most fun I've ever had. Because, I like to get a little bit drunk and then
Sigma News
and kind of walk around. But at Auburn, you're stuck where you're at. You can't drive. You're drunk. So it's hanging out with you guys all day.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing I realized when I went to. So we had a bye weekend, and I went to Auburn. Or no, it was my high school. And when I was in high school, I went to Auburn and went to that Waka Flocka concert. I think it was KA at Auburn. And I just was dude, we had to Uber to this fraternity house, and then I have to walk. And I'm walking after I'm drinking late night. I had a weird thing in college where I would drink, I would go out to the bars, and then I would leave, and I wouldn't Uber. Even in Alabama, my place may be a 10, 15-minute walk. I'd be sprinting. It was I was training when I was drunk. I would get into this zone. I'm serious, weird. I'd be pretty drunk late night, just sprinting through the streets of Tuscaloosa. like just over and over
Freaking
again.
everybody
And I
out.
told myself, I'd be like, I'm like, you got to keep on going. Show me that you want this. Like, work harder. And I'm like, dude, if anyone knew what was going inside my head right now, they would think I was crazy. But I'll say I did that at Auburn. Like, I remember at Auburn, I walked back, like, it was like 45-minute walk. I'm like, what am I doing at this place? It's just a farm everywhere. There's just, just random crap everywhere. I mean, this place is horrible.
Walk from Skyward to Fat Daddy's take you 3 days.
Yeah, dude. You'd be going for a while.
That's great.
I've done that, though. I've walked almost all the way to Fat Daddy's.
That's awesome.
Brutal.
Well, dude, this has been great, man. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely. This has been look, I've learned more about you guys in this podcast than I have talking.
Same. Now when we see each other, we won't be strangers.
I know.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming, dude.
Thank y'all for tuning in to the DM Monday podcast. Please rate and subscribe. Also, too, if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast or whatever, be sure to go check us out on YouTube and see our pretty faces and subscribe. Thank y'all. Peace out.
Bet your arms let you hold somebody new. Bet your mind don't make it about me or you. Bet your hand don't change that station when the song starts playing that we used to sing along to. Bet you gotten over me and it feels good. Bet you finally feel like you're out of the woods. Bet your heart moved on like a heart should. Like a heart should. Mine never could. Does it feel like home when he says your name? Do his eyes make your heart fall like rain? I wonder if his love makes you feel the way mine never could. Bet your arms let you hold somebody new. Bet your mind don't